organ donor cods. Now, ever since farming practices in this country changed around about the 1950s or thereabouts, several species of ground nesting birds either disappeared altogether or suffered severe reversals. And amongst them was the grey partridge, which practically disappeared altogether until a conservation project was put in place at Bura in the foothills of the Slieve Bloom Mountains in the County Offaly. Valerie Waters went along to see this successful new habitat.
On roughly 400 acres at Bura, County Offaly, is a conservation project involving local farmers, Bord na Móna, the National Parks and Wildlife Service and the Grey Partridge Trust. This community effort has carefully created a breeding habitat for the endangered native grey partridge. Just over a decade ago, it was on the brink of extinction, but now, due to the work of the various groups, the population has risen to 140 birds.
Grey partridges spend their life on the ground and they're very, very secretive and very elusive. Also the female, both male and female, but particularly the female, is cryptically coloured. And that's so she can blend in with her environment, so she's not eaten by predators. And sometimes, in fact, there's times when I walked around almost for a month and you wouldn't see one. There was a survey done in 1991, a census survey, and we'd realised at that time that the population was on the brink of extinction. And in fact, there was only 2 natural populations of grey partridges left, and both of them are on Cutaway Bog. Now, one of those populations has subsequently become extinct. That's one in Lullymore, County Kildare. And there's another, the only population left here is the Bura population. So this is why we're working with the local farmers here and the local communities to try and re-establish a habitat here for partridges. Pre-1950 in every county. They were widespread and common, now with good and bad years intertwined, but they were generally speaking occurred in all counties in Ireland. But after 1950 then the agricultural revolution began, and then we began to dig up and plough up the old meadows. The old haymaking was changed over to silage, over to ryegrass, and farmland ecosystems began to collapse. And then following on for that, we had the use of pesticides and herbicides, which removed the competition from the fields, killed off reduced the diversity of farmland. And then what happened was that grey partridges began to decline very quickly, along with corn buntings and the corncrake as well.
A mixture of wildflower seed is sown in strips on this boggy land to attract insects which are beneficial to the partridge. Quinoa is grown in larger patches as the bird feeds on the ripening seed when it falls to soil level. Quinoa is very nutritious. The crop produces a ton of seed per acre, so it's highly productive. It's important that the sowing of any of the crops and wild flowers are not grown too densely, otherwise the partridge wouldn't be able to move about freely.
This farm here is it's a local farmer. Joseph Malloy is the farmer here, but Joe has taken on some measures for the partridge project. He's for example, he's not spraying the stubble here. You can see the stubble is not sprayed over winter, so it's left. And that's very important for farmland birds, particularly partridge. The regeneration of little weeds like hemp nettle and chickweed and that provide a source of food for farmland birds, an overwinter source of food. So the partridges actually like to forage in it as well, and they can hide in the stubble. So the stubble is left, another measure it takes, the stubble is cut a little higher than normal so they can get down and hide in it. These are the areas that partridges actually seek out in the nesting strips. And what grey partridges do is they lay an egg a day, and they cover that egg with this grass, dead grass. So the actual egg is almost the same colour as that, so in a way it's another camouflage as well.
On Bord na Móna land that was once Cutaway Bog, these crops of kale, phacelia, quinoa and lucerne have been planted to provide a nesting and feeding area, as well as overwinter cover and protection from predators. The on-site gamekeeper at Bura is Paddy Kelly. He keeps John Walsh of the Irish Grey Partridge Trust up to speed on the population numbers.
As you can see here, the efforts that have been undertaken in the last 10 years since this project started, we've managed to bring the population from the edge of extinction, where numbers had fallen as low as 22 birds, to a position now where the birds are about 140. So it's vitally important that the efforts here are supported in terms both financially but also in terms of spreading the word about wild game management, and also the benefits not alone for game that you see here, but also for farmland birds who have been unfortunately in decline since the early 1950s.
The grey partridge is a very important part of our natural heritage, and something that we value and treasure very much. It's as important as the Rock of Cashel and the Cliffs of Moher. It's just a part of farmland. It's a farmland bird, and it really belongs in farmland. The fact that they're here in Bura and they're breeding here in Bura means that they're indicating that the environment and the habitat is correct here. The missing pieces of the jigsaw, the ecological jigsaw, are all in place.